Daredevil and Angela arrive in Marvel Rivals Season 4 as Doctor Doom reveals a secret about the Iron Fist. I will cover every major event, character moment, and turning point that defines this chapter of the game's ongoing narrative. This episode is part of our Season Story Timeline series where we cover each season individually, start to finish. If you're looking for other seasons, you'll find the links to the full playlist in the description. And if you want the entire Marvel Rival story in one place, we also have our full story timelines, which combine multiple seasons into a single, complete narrative experience. This timeline is also available on your favorite podcast platform alongside our Marvel Cinematic Universe discussions, and those links are also in the description. And while you're here, please leave a like if you're watching the video, a review if you're listening as a podcast. With all of that said, it is about that time. Now, this gallery card is a Let the Sleeping Dragon Lie, and the narrator is Shu Lao the Undying himself, the dragon whose heart empowers the Iron Fist lineage, who has gone by many names across the eons, but here in Kunlun, he is called Shu Lao. And over 1,000,000 years, he has shared his power with noble champions, the Immortal weapons and Iron Fist, who defend Kunlun. However, for the first time, the dragon admits fear for his city and its people, because as a result of some mortal meddling fracturing space-time, it has forced all 7 capital cities of heaven to materialize on the same plane and creating the Heart of Heaven, which is an alignment of the cities meant to only occur every 88 years. What should be a glorious festival becomes a war between gods and demons. And because of this temporal chaos, Shu Lao admits that he became frozen in time, as if he was in a walking dream. And with the current Iron Fist away aiding other realms, Doctor Doom seizes the opening to invade Kunlun and take Shu Lao's heart, the wellspring of Shai shared with every Iron Fist. But there's a wrinkle in this story because the time stream entanglement has struck and fused with the dragon's heart, interlacing it with new energy, raising the stakes of any thief. And as Dr. Doom is trying to do this, Shu Lao wonders what Doom's motive for this could be. Would it be healing his scarred face? Would it be purifying a lost loved one's soul? When it comes down to it, Shu Lao has no idea what Dr. Doom is doing this for. All that he knows is that Dr. Doom needs to be stopped. And there's a relief, because the Iron Fist returns with many allies to defend the Heart of Heaven. But you see, here's another problem. Iron Fist is back, and that's great. But Lin Li did not earn the Iron Fist's mantle and power and responsibility traditionally, like the dozens upon dozens before him. Lin was given it by Shu Lao, and if this fact is revealed, it could very well spell the end of Kunlun as we know it, and perhaps all of reality. But Shu Lao admits that what was given can always be taken away. The 8th city, once a hell prison, has now become a refuge for those that have been cast out of heaven. Its people chose their protector and named him Dzang, after he vowed to be the last to leave hell. Now, under the cover of night, Hela arrives and pleads for sanctuary. Dzang then jails her behind a mystic seal and asks what she's running from. After a long pause, she whispers one word, Null. Then days later, she requests an audience and tells her tale, and the story begins where all stories should. The beginning, where she traveled to a distant world for ancient power, forged an unholy alliance with a dark god, nearly triumphed, then a half-human warrior vanquished her with his burning blade, and because of that, she then feared Null's wrath. So she fled as far as possible and finds herself in the 8th city. Now she feels her new powers fading, which to her means that Null's reign has ended. she is relieved to be back to her old self and then begs for release. However, Dazane thanks her for her honesty but refuses to release her because even though Hela is power drained, she is still a traitor to the Chronoverse. As Dazane says, second chances have to be earned. And as he leaves, he warns Hela that her own kin may soon deliver justice. Now let's travel over to the Fire Realm, where we meet Angela, and she corners Cinder, who is the Queen of Cinders, at spear point, suspecting a pact over Laza. And Cinder swears on the Twilight Sword she knows nothing of Hela or the child. And Angela notes the tremble in Cinder's flames, concludes that she's truthful about what she had just said, and then spares her. Now over in Jotunheim, Angela gleefully carves through frost giants, and King Laufey offers no intel on Hela or Laza either. We go over to Nidavellir, where King Eitri welcomes her with Dwarven ale. I am so sorry with these pronunciations. And finely wrought weapons that are, quote, befitting a queen. Angela declines because she'll celebrate after the quest. Right now, her blades are enough. Now, Queen Elsa Featherwine insists that the Dark Elves are the culprits. And for once, Angela thinks Elsa might be right. And in the Blood Muck Swamp, Angela thrashes Dark Elf mercs and confronts Malekith. And after she defeats him, he admits that Hela visited to ask how to use Laza's unique power to manipulate Nidhogg, the Black Dragon's subconscious, to make the beast her thrall. So, upon learning this, Angela's next stop is beneath Asgard, where Nidhogg gnaws at Yggdrasil's roots. But when she gets there, Nidhogg is absent. Instead, Munin, which is Odin's raven, arrives there. And he says he's returned from Clintar, where he saw Hela fighting for Null as his queen in black. And Angela moves to head right for Clintar. However, Munin advises against it because Hela's reign there was short-lived, and she is already fled. He didn't see where she went, but Angela reasons she'd retreat to Niflheim because that is where Hela's dark fortress lies, and also her army of the dead. So she begins traveling. She's on her way over there, and upon arrival, the undead rush her. She defeats all of them, except for one. And this lone soul radiates unusual power. Some green, yellow tatters with a dragon tattoo and a glowing fist. As Angela says, "Hold, warrior, I mean you no harm. It is only your queen I wish to shred to ribbons." And the warrior responds first by chuckling, and he says, "Not my queen. I only serve Shu Lao." Shu Lao? I've never heard that name before. You will, soon enough, if you want to find Hela. Is this Shu Lao here in Niflheim then? No, she's there, in Kunlun. So then Angela then asks how to reach Kunlun. So the soldier opens his palm, revealing a green dragon-shaped crystal. As he says, "This should lead you there." A bit of Shang Lu Shi in crystal form. And Angela says, "Well, how do I repay you? This one's on me." Everything has a cost. Oh, fair enough. How about this? If you happen to meet someone named Luke, you tell him that I said hi and bye. And he looks skyward. Now, if you'll excuse me, my ride is finally here. And then a Valkyrie arrives on winged steed to bear him straight to Valhalla. And Angela departs, guided by the Chi Crystal. She arrives on Kunlun as she sees an ensemble of heroes preparing for an impending invasion. And she spots a man in green and yellow with the dragon emblem, like the warrior that she was just talking to. And she goes, Are you the one they call Luke?" No, I'm Lin Li. But you could just call me Iron Fist." "I see. Then I must seek audience with Shu Lao." Get in line, lady. The big guy's asleep right now. And as his immortal weapon, that means I've got to deal with a mountain of problems. Doom is planning an attack on the heart of heaven. The Ace City of Dazang somehow has merged with the other 7 as well. Oh, and I've been stuck babysitting this itty-bitty goddess that the Prince of Orphans took in. So unless you're planning to join the fight, indeed I am. And then she begins charging at Iron Fist. And she does this because as he's, pontificating, monologuing at Angela just moments before, she thinks that she caught a hint, just a scent of Alaza on his garments. And this itty-bitty goddess that he mentioned confirms her suspicion. Now, whether Iron Fist is complicit or not doesn't matter. She vows whoever took Laza will pay, and they'll perhaps pay the highest price they would ever pay. Oh my goodness. This is the Angel and Devil Gallery card, and we start inside Shu Lao's palace in Kunlun, where the ancient dragon sits utterly motionless, seemingly frozen in time. And Dazang arrives, saying, "I've waited a long time to finally get an audience with you, Shu Lao. The least you can do is awaken from your slumber and acknowledge my presence." And Dazang pauses for what feels like an eternity, with no breath, no response at all from Shu Lao. So Dazang decides to proceed anyway, promising to speak even if the dragon won't. As he says, "Fine, if you won't speak, I'll at least make sure you listen to everything I have to say." So Dazang starts to explain that the capital cities of heaven have converged prematurely. There are more than 7, and he represents the Ace City. Now, the Ace City was long treated as a prison for criminals and monsters, but under his leadership, it has become a refuge for the displaced, people with nowhere else to go within this wider war of the multiverse. Dazang then declares his demand for representation and willingness to fight to secure it. And it's at this moment, a woman's voice cuts in from behind, dismissing Dazang's credentials. As a woman says, "You know nothing of fighting. Not until you have crossed blades with elder gods on the edge of oblivion and lived to tell the tale." And this woman has red hair, golden armor, and a massive spear in her hand. She strides into the palace as Dazang turns to face her. As Dazang says, "I recognize your heartbeat. You were Asgardian. Born of the gods, perhaps, but I was raised by angels." And Dazang scoffs. "Angels. I lost faith in those a long time ago. Then I will make you believe again." So swears Angela, the hand of heaven. And Angela attacks, but Dazang evades effortlessly, avoiding any contact with. And Dazang decides that at this moment, he needs to pontificate a little bit as he says, "I've been to hell and back, slayed my share of beasts, faced enough devils, and you're destined to become one yourself. But if that's what I need to protect my people, I'm okay with it. I know exactly what you are. Only a devil would offer sanctuary to a witch like Hela." And Dazang hits back and says, "Everyone deserves a second chance. That includes all of us. You, me, Laza." And hearing that last name shocks Angela. She's frozen. What do you know of my sister?" "I know she's safe, and that you'll be reunited soon. But only if we could survive the battles to come. And to do that, an angel may need to make a deal with a devil if she dares." Oh, I wonder what they're cooking up here. This is the Lies of Lin Li gallery card, and it's a passage of the Book of Doom. And we start with Dr. Doom arriving in Kunlun hunting a rare resource, which is a Chronovium variant supercharged by Shu Lao Shi. As Dr. Doom writes that he vowed to claim every last drop of Shi flowing throughout the slumbering beast's heart in the name of Doom. However, a team of heroes wakes Shu Lao from his slumber, forcing Doom to pivot, because he won't waste time on a direct brawl with the heroes when a sleeping target would have been much simpler. So, Doom decides to claim the Shi legitimately, throwing shade at the current champion. and Doom recites the Shinlong trial, where Doom explains upon completion, only then can they claim the power of his Shi and the title of the Iron Fist. Now, Dr. Doom has heard the rumor. This rumor is that Lin Li never took the trial, and that Shu Lao gifted him the power of the Iron Fist out of pity when he was dying. And it's this rumor that Doom hopes to be true so he could weaponize it to claim the Iron Fist power for himself. And if you know one thing about Dr. Doom, is that his face is pretty messed up. But if you know another thing about Dr. Doom, he's kind of petty. So this man stands up in front of all of the heroes and the dragon, says aloud in front of everybody, "I challenge Shu Lao to a proper trial," citing the fact that Lin Li's claim to the Iron Fist was illegitimate. "I demanded the chance to prove my worth." And Doom explains after pretty much outing Lin as an illegitimate Iron Fist, Shu Lao responds, and Doom explains that Shu Lao says he invoked a law. If a challenge is raised when the capital cities of heaven have converged, each city is allowed the chance to claim that power by participating in an epic tournament. And stepping back from the story for a second, I'm not sure if you're paying attention fully. I don't know if you're fully aware of this, but we have mentioned the cities have converged. This is the perfect time to do this tournament. So Dr. Doom accepts the terms, as he's still certain he'll win against any mortal or immortal that participates in this tournament, and decides that if Shu Lao can field a champion, so can he. Lin Li storms into Shu Lao's chamber, and he yells, "What in the name of the 7 cities do you think you're doing, Shan Lao?" "Protecting Kunlun, just as I always have." In case you forgot, that's my job." And the dragon leans in and says, "For now, we shall see how long that remains true." "Is that a threat?" "No, it is a fact." And Lin responds to that by saying, "You picked me to be your Iron Fist. You're really gonna let someone strip that away from me? Because a madman in a metal mask wants more power?" "Lin, there are rules. Rules that were not followed when I anointed you as my champion. I was wrong." And now we have a little bit of a flashback, okay? Because Lin was Swordmaster before he was the Iron Fist, wielder of Fuji's blade, until a Kimyo killed him, and his body washed up onto Kunlun, with Shu Lao reviving him with the Dragon Chi, making him the 67th Iron Fist without the formal trials that came with it. Now, the traditional path, per the book of the Iron Fist, is to conquer the Shinlong trial, culminating in punching Shu Lao's heart to take the power, in which Shu Lao's chi is taken, not given, until Lin. So we're dealing with some first ever stuff right here, okay? 67 Iron Fists, and they switch up how they operate with Lin? Alright, so we continue on. Dr. Victor Von Doom comes back into the scene, and he's targeting Kunlun to seize Shu Lao's chi, which now is teamed with Chronovium. So, this is still a little bit in the flashback. Finding Shu Lao sleeping, Doom plans to carve out the heart and steal the true source. However, the dragon reawakens and the heroes rally, so Doom pivots to Plan B. And I hope you're ready to learn about what Doom does next, because this man is incredibly petty, if we didn't already know this based off of everything we've talked about before. But this man Doom, alright, he didn't want to wake up the dragon, but he did, so he's got a pivot. And his pivot is incredible. Doom then publicly exposes Lin's illegitimate ascension as the Iron Fist, humiliating him, then challenges Shu Lao to initiate the Shinlong trial so that he can become the one true Iron Fist. As he says, "I would thrust my armored fist into the hearts of 1,000,000 dragons." And let's take a pause here in the story. Let's just acknowledge how insane this man is. Dr. Doom wants to become the next Iron Fist. He just outed Lin. That's why Lin, in the present time right now, is so upset. He just got outed as being illegitimate. Dr. Doom out here saying, you're nothing. You're trash, kid. I said, oh my goodness. All right, let's continue. There's this ancient, rarely used clause that when the 7 capital cities of heaven converge into the heart of heaven, a challenge to an immortal weapon triggers a trial where each city may field a representative. The outcome of this is that it expands this into a grand tournament. Defeat the other immortal weapons to claim the title and the chief. Now Shu Lao invokes this loophole to delay Doom's grab, but neither dragon nor disciple is excited about the road ahead. Now we jump back in the present day, where Lin is cooling off in the conversation a little bit now, and he says, so if I want to keep being Iron Fist, I just win a battle between the immortal weapons, right? Shu Lao responds by saying, yes, that is correct. Lin thinks he'll win by default if the others don't show up, because right now the Prince of the Orphans is missing. The cities are fused, so he just thinks there's nobody to fight. Also, he's a bit busy babysitting an Asgardian baby that the prince left before he left. Did I just say left twice? Yeah. And Lin admits that the baby is kind of growing on him, and now Angela and I are cool. But Shu Lao then drops the catch of this and says, if a city's weapon is absent, its immortal beast chooses a new champion from anyone present in the heart of heaven. And then Lin groans at that idea and says, oh, you mean where all of the multiverse's greatest heroes are hanging out right now? That's great. So then Lin's solution is to ask, what if we follow the rules right now? Let me do the Xingyong trial and punch your heart like the 66 before me. Then Doom's challenge has no legs. And Shu Lao says, the die has been cast. One challenge cannot nullify another. The tournament must be seen through now. And Lin says, Doom's gonna cheat. Lin, I know his reputation. And yours. Stubborn, impulsive, unyielding. Why always lead with your fist, even when the fragments in your arm ache? And Lin says, because I've always been trying to prove myself. I've got a hell of a legacy to live up to. And Shu Lao responds and says, then earn it. Prove you are my one true champion. Prove a bruised ego won't keep you down. Prove you deserve the name. And that, even with the sword of Fuji shattered, you are still a worthy heir of Fuji. Do you really think I could do that? It does not matter what I think, only what you think. So then Lin's confidence begins to return and he says, if I mop the floor with these other immortal wannabes, no questions are going to be asked of me again, right? That's correct. So, what do you say, my champion? And now Lin, his fists are blazing. He says, just this. When do the games begin? We are here at a shadowed corridor leading out of the Xingyong Arena in the heart of heaven, as Loki strolls in and calls the bluff. And he says, you can show yourself now. I can see right through that adorable little cloaking spell. And the figure decloaks. It's Dr. Doom. And he says, I expected no less from the new Crane champion. But tell me, how did you persuade the Crane mother to choose you? Loki smirks and he says, well, the right words in the right order can be quite magical. And I've always words to spare. So then Doom muses that Asgardian enchantments shouldn't work on an immortal beast. To that, Loki shrugs and says, if I could bewitch Odin, I could bewitch anyone. And then Loki adds a little tidbit and says that there are apparently 8 capital cities now. Or there will be, if the mortal in the devil horns gets what he wants. And the two then return to business because Doom owes Loki payment for their arrangement. To which Loki says, in full, it is about time for a flashback. And this is after Clintar, where Loki is hunting for Hela for betraying their pact by crowning herself Null's Queen in Black, to which then she flee to the Ace City, now merged with the other 7 into the heart of heaven, where Loki comes to have words. Strong words. However, Kunlun is chaos, because the time stream entertainment has rattled the magical realms, with Shung Lao being frozen in time, and factions scramble either to revive him or steal his chronal tinged chi. As always, Doom aims for the latter. However, when Shu Lao awakens, Doom can't simply carve out Dragonfire. Instead, he attacks Iron Fist's legitimacy, expecting a solo trial so he could become the Iron Fist. However, Shu Lao counters that by acknowledging that in the Book of the Iron Fist, when the capital cities converge, a grand tournament in the Xinlun Arena decides the mantle. Each city's immortal beast chooses a champion from the heroes assembled. Now Doom must sully his hands, and with most traditional immortal weapons vanished, the immortal beasts recruit new avatars. Zigombo taps Storm, standing in for the Prince of the Orphans. Peng Lai selects Groot. Hoodoo of the Undercity picks Wolverine, snagging a slot Loki thought he would take. And Hugh Kuei, the Vermilion Bird of Kunzai, appoints the Invisible Woman, which appears to leave Loki out in the cold of this tournament. And that is where Dr. Doom enters with a proposition, and he offers this. If Loki can secure a slot as the immortal weapon and win, Doom will help crush his rivals. In return, Loki must hand over the grand prize, Shu Lao's Chi. And Loki responds to this proposition by saying, "And how does this scheme benefit me? Name your price." Loki begins to grin. "A single feather from the Phoenix." Now, Doom's bots already nabbed a Phoenix feather back on Clintar, and Loki has already woven Yggdrasil sap into a blank canvas. So with a Phoenix feather as quill and the right ink, he aims to rewrite his legend. Not the god of lies, but the god of stories. So Dr. Doom agrees and promises to remove the Invisible Woman from the bracket by tugging the Richards family strings. Now, Loki must get Kunzai's immortal beast to choose him. And on this journey to do so, Loki is mobbed by Crane daughters, who are Kunzai's, illusion doubles, to which they merge into a giant burning crane. And Loki shifts to Frost Giant form to fight it, smacks it from the sky, then pops the casket of ancient winters to snuff the flames. Now Hugh Kuei is impressed after seeing this. However, not impressed enough to grant the title. So then Loki places a gamble. He then tries Amora the Enchantress Beguiling spell. That doesn't work either. So he lies prettier. He promises a phoenix feather as tribute. As he brandishes a feather from Munin, ignites it with Muspelheim's flame, and sets the illusion. The result being that the Crane Mother changes course. Loki is now named Crane Champion, immortal weapon of Kunzai. The Xinlong Arena gasps when the God of Mischief is now announced as a contestant. Now we're back in present time, where Doom reaches for the prize. His hand comes out empty as he says, "You will get your payment, Laufey-san, only after the tournament is won." Loki, of course, is upset and he says, "You dare defy me, mortal." Doom dares. What mortal should never dare to trust Loki? When the battle is over, the Phoenix feather is yours, not a moment sooner. Now at this moment, Loki weighs looking Dr. Doom right in his eyes and turning him into a frog, but he decides against it, because Doom's right. Loki would not have honored the deal if paid up front, and honestly, it's a bit refreshing to scheme with someone who plays chess at his level. So as Loki is walking away, he says, "It will take more than just tricks to defeat the most powerful champions in the multiverse, though I am certain some will come in handy." And Doom, smiling behind his mask, says, "Once again, I expect no less." Alright, this gallery card is the all-new Immortal Weapons. And this one is narrated by Galacta. as she says, "Hey there, rivals. It's your girl, Galacta, with a major announcement. Someone, I'm looking at you, Doom, decided it would be a good idea to challenge Shu Lao to a fight for his Shi. And now, every immortal weapon can get in on the action." Now, most of the immortal weapons were lost in the time stream, so each of the capital cities had to select a new champion. And boy, did they make some unexpected picks. Shu Lao is obviously sending in his current Iron Fist, the martial arts master, Lin Li. And rumor has it, Lin may have not actually earned his fancy fist fair and square. But moving on, Zagombo picked Storm, while standing in for Tiger's beautiful daughter is Angela. And do you want to know who was chosen to represent the lush island of Penglai? I've got just 3 words for you. He is Groot. And then moving over to the Kingdom of Spiders, ironically, they passed on our pals Peter and Penny to go with the Black Widow. And for the Undercity, the immortal beast known as Hoodoo is betting on our favorite feral fighter, the Wolverine. And finally, it's the man who challenged Shu Lao. You love to hate him. He's Loki. Wait, something's not right here. So instead of Doom, it's Loki. And if that's not already surprising enough, there is a new entrant. For the 8th city, they throw in a champion in service of Yinlong, the Black Dragon. As Galacta says, "We've got another competitor. From the 8th city, folks here know him as Dezang, but you can call him Daredevil." This is the Inner Devil gallery card, and we are starting off at the Xinlong Arena at the heart of heaven, just moments before the tournament begins. And the crowd is absolutely floored as Dezang steps forward to announce he's competing. And they don't realize the man behind the mask is Matt Murdock. Now we get a little lore drop from Matt, just to us the audience. He's not saying this as dialogue, but he's saying, "As Matt Murdock, I spent my days protecting people who had no way to protect themselves. That devotion carried over into my double life as Daredevil. But the safety of my people came at a steep cost, a piece of my soul. However, now there are no more bargains." He hunts the hand to extinction and passes sentence on their demon lord, the Beast. As Matt explains a little bit further and says, "There was once a time that I had let their demon lord, the Beast, control me as his fist, but I have a new mission now. I would descend into hell and claim his life for myself." Now his plan to do so is to dismantle the clan hideout by hideout, further isolating him. And this fight continued until ultimately Matt Murdock was victorious, kneeling with the Beast's severed head in his hand, but the victory rings hollow. Matt begins to hear demons laughing as he senses endless warlords, the splinter realms gnashing, gods dying, and bodies cast into God Quarry, and his faith collapses. Matt realizes that his faith has lost all of its meaning and his sins had amounted to nothing. Now, when Matt killed the Beast, it freed Yinlong, an immortal dragon who offers a pact to Matt. He will help him absorb the Beast's power if Matt becomes his champion and restores the 8th city to its rightful place in the heart of heaven. And Matt views this deal as a necessary evil, and it was a burden that only he could be trusted to bear. So Matt accepts this deal and becomes Dezang, a redeemer of lost souls. And Matt says that his people may have called him something new, but the horns still fit just the same. And now at the tournament, while the heroes are fighting for Shu Lao Shi, Dezang targets the Sword of Fuji, the only blade that can break the seal of Shiyu's tomb, with the ultimate goal being Shiyu restoring balance to the universe. However, the problem is that the sword is shattered into Lin Li, specifically into Lin's arms. As Matt says, he's a noble warrior, but he's not going to sacrifice his sacred weapon willingly, which means I'm going to have to take it. the hard way. And you got to remember, Matt Murdock, Dzang, Daredevil, he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to hurt Lin. He does not want to hurt Kunlun's protector. He remembers Danny, the former Iron Fist. But Matt needs to do this now because delay means more suffering, especially, as he says, if we don't end this war soon. Innocent children, like little Lhasa, I cannot allow that. I also can't sit back and let more sinister forces twist this chaos, just like Hela did. As long as there's still some good left in this world, I am not planning to let anyone stop me now. In a shadowy ally on the edge of Kunlun, Spider-Man swings in and he says, "There he is. We need to talk, Dzang." Or should I say, Daredevil? Peter, I've been expecting this conversation. Okay, Matt, tell me, how does the hero of Hell's Kitchen end up the ruler of a magical hidden city? And Daredevil scoffs at that, as Spider-Man jokes about needing a recap of everything that Matt has gone through recently, and also why they keep hearing a disembodied voice telling them to get to the mission area. And we're going to take a pause real quick, step back from the story, okay? Everybody step back. I just want to let you know how excited I am for Deadpool to eventually enter the game, because already they're breaking the fourth wall, and I know Daredevil's going to amp that up to a level 10. Right here, if you're not picking up on it, Spider-Man is talking about Galacta in the game. So that's pretty funny. When we hear Galacta, they are also hearing that in their heads. And also, if you think about it, it's kind of torture, but that's pretty funny. All right, time to jump right back into the story. So Daredevil agrees to tell Peter the lore, right? Only if he agrees that he doesn't judge Matt for what he did. And Spider-Man, of course, responds by saying, "You know better than most that I am woefully unqualified to take that bench." Gavels? Could you imagine Thor running around with one of those? And before he goes on and on and on about this bit that he wants to do, he just stops as he sees Matt just glaring at him, waiting for him to shut up. And so he does so. And Daredevil pretty much says, "Let me lay it down for you like this, brother. Let me pontificate." And he begins his story. Their worlds began very similarly. Then the timelines collapsed and he was dragged into wars of ancient deities, far older and far more dangerous than Asgardians or Olympians. Spider-Man begins to connect the dots to the Hand, and Matt confirms that their Hell Lord patron is the Beast. And Spider-Man, dead serious, says, wait, the blue fuzzy guy from the X-Men? No, Peter. A demonic overlord that dwelled in the fiery pits of hell. And Matt continues the story. He fought sect after sect after sect after sect until he was all alone. And when hearing that he was all alone, Spidey then, of course, asked who he lost during that. Foggy, Karen, Luke, Misty, Danny, and Peter. You were one of the people I trusted most in this world, Peter. And I couldn't save you. Or MJ. Or your daughter. My... And as Spider-Man is stunned, reeling at the implication about his other self and his family life, Matt continues with the story. He has nothing left, losing everyone around him, so he chooses to end the Hand's reign by killing their god. Back then, the Beast managed to corrupt me. This time, I planned to be the one in control, so I descended into hell and faced him directly. And Daredevil strangles the Beast with his billy club cable and feels the power rush in. And Spider-Man butts in and says, "You got yourself possessed? Again?" Not possessed. I claimed the Beast's power as my own. I was pulling the strings. Yeah, sure, pal. Keep telling yourself that. I didn't have a choice. We always have a choice, Matt. I hope the one you made was worth it. It should have been. I thought ending him would solve my problem, but it just made so many more. Because you see, when doing this, in hell, Daredevil then perceives the true scope of what he did. Primordial horrors without number, splinter realms gnashing, gods dying, bodies tossed into the god quarry. It was a war I couldn't win, and yet I could not stop fighting. And you never thought about tapping out? Of course I did. Millions were being massacred. What would you have done? And Spider-Man was left speechless, and Matt continued the story. At this point, one of the Beast's imprisoned divinities, Yinlong, offers to help Matt master the power and takes him to the 8th city where people need a protector. He brought me here. I needed to atone. They needed someone to lead them out of the darkness. I hate to break it to you, but demons never work for free. So what's the catch? Restore the 8th city to its rightful place. And to do that, I need the sword of Fuji to unseal Shiyu's tomb, a god who can end all of the wars. That sounds too good to be true. What does that usually mean? That it is not true. And now we arrive at the problem and conflict at hand. The tournament for the mantle of the Iron Fist, the sword of Fuji, and the fate of the universe. The problem is that the sword of Fuji is shattered into fragments embedded in Lin Li's arms. Of course, Matt doesn't want to hurt Kunlun's protector, but Lin will not hand it over. And time's ticking. A tournament is coming, and Spider-Man thinks about everything that he was just told, starts to empathize and forgives. Even though he's not sure if he fully agrees with Matt's methods, he understands. And he says, you may not be my Matt Murdock, but I trust you. And no matter what happens next, I forgive you. Thank you, Peter. You do not know how much this means to me. And as Spider-Man swings away, Matt resolves that if he makes the right choices, he might save this Peter Parker, and possibly even save himself. A letter is received by Xu Lao from an elder of the universe, the Grand Master. And this letter opens with the Grand Master thanking Xu Lao for delaying the Xinlong tournament because it just so happened to solve a problem for him. Because you see, the Grand Master explains that although he has rarely interacted with Xu Lao directly, he has indeed watched Kunlun for eons. And in fact, he has placed a bet on all 66 Iron Fists in the past, who have of course earned their power in trial by combat. And in doing so, Grandmaster has profited handsomely and enjoyed the spectacle at the same time. So, when the Grandmaster heard that Xu Lao would host an even grander tournament in the heart of heaven, he was thrilled. He very much liked the idea of uniting all 8 realms in an all-out brawl for ultimate power. However, due to unfortunate events at the Collector's Menagerie, his schedule has been occupied, jeopardizing his ability to attend this tournament, which he was very disappointed about. But that circles back to him being happy about this tournament being delayed due to one of the participants being injured. Plus, Grandmaster is also launching a game of his own, and he worries that his chosen champion might miss Xu Lao's event due to injury sustained during the trial. So, Grandmaster sees this postponement as the stars aligning in the universe for everyone involved. Grandmaster can make his plans work, and his champion gets time to recover to participate in the tournament. Grandmaster then asks Xu Lao to save him a seat at the arena when the battle finally begins. And as a token of his appreciation, Grandmaster sends a playing card he won from Mephisto, which he believes contains a stolen fragment of Xu Lao's Shi itself. Now, of course, the Grandmaster initially considered keeping the Shi as a trophy for himself, but he decided against that, opting to return it to where it belongs with the dragon. But you see, here's the thing. This wasn't just a generous offer to return something that belonged to Xu Lao. With the Grandmaster, there is an alternative motive that, of course, Grandmaster is trying to hide in subtlety. But he says that when the time comes, when it's time to cash in all their chips, Grandmaster hopes that Xu Lao remembers this and returns the favor. Grandmaster then signs off on the letter, but that's not all, because he then writes, P.S. I do hope that you have plans to keep these heroes in line should they decide to deviate from the rules. If you play your cards right and they don't drain every last bit of your life force, I may make an appearance at your next tournament myself.